Welcome to this explainer. If you've ever felt totally overwhelmed by the giant alphabet soup of cybersecurity frameworks, or worse, if you've had a major enterprise deal stall out because you lacked compliance, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to turn the daunting SOC 2 compliance framework into a logical, step-by-step journey. We aren't just talking about checking boxes for the sake of it. We're talking about building actual organizational trust that drives revenue. Okay, let's dive right into this.
Here's the roadmap. We're going to break this incredibly dense regulatory framework into 5 highly manageable phases: decoding SOC 2 compliance, defining your audit scope, bridging the gap, implementing controls and evidence, and finally, navigating audits in continuous compliance.
All right, kicking things off with Section 1, decoding SOC 2 compliance.
So what exactly is SOC? Well, it stands for System and Organization Controls, and it was actually developed by the American Institute of Certified Public Accountants, the AICPA. Now, you might be thinking, wait, why are accountants writing the rules for tech security, right? But honestly, it's evolved into the universal language of cybersecurity. Strip away all that heavy jargon, and SOC is basically your company's security resume. It's how you prove to the world that you know what you're doing, and here is exactly how well you protect customer data.
But why put yourself through this super rigorous process? Well, because SOC2 is the ultimate tool for building customer trust. If you're a growing software business and you want to land those massive enterprise deals, SOC2 isn't just a nice little badge to slap on your website, it's completely non-negotiable. Without it, your sales team is essentially hitting a brick wall. Plus, implementing these standards actively reduces your internal security and operational risks. It literally just makes you a safer, better company.
Now, before you start the heavy lifting, you've got to choose your depth. And you've got 2 main options here. SOC2 Type I is a point-in-time snapshot. It just proves your controls are designed correctly on one specific day. Type 2, on the other hand, is way more intense. It evaluates how those controls actually work over a sustained period, usually 6 to 12 months. Think of Type I like a photograph, and Type 2 like a documentary film. A Type I photo shows that your house has locks today, sure, but a Type 2 documentary proves you actually lock those doors every single night for an entire year. And trust me, most enterprise clients, they're going to want to see the documentary.
Moving right along to Section 2, defining your audit scope.
Okay, before an auditor even steps foot in your digital door, you have to decide exactly what's getting audited based on the trust services criteria. Picture this as a pie with 5 slices: security, availability, confidentiality, processing integrity, and privacy. The absolute crucial takeaway here is that security is the one mandatory slice. Every single SOC 2 audit has to include it. The rest, they're optional, and you just pick them based on what your business actually does. Like if you're a healthcare SaaS platform handling sensitive patient records, you absolutely need that privacy slice. But if you just run a background processing tool, security and availability might be plenty. It really lets you tailor the audit to what your customers actually care about.
Once you've got your criteria, you literally have to draw a fence around what's being audited. Your scope has to be comprehensive. It covers 4 main things. First, your systems, like your specific AWS or Azure cloud environments. Second, your data, which means your users' sensitive information. Third, your people. And yes, that means full-time employees and that freelance developer you hired for a quick 6-month project. And lastly, locations. This covers your physical corporate offices as well as the specific cloud server regions where your app actually lives.
Which brings us to the reality check phase in Section 3, bridging the gap.
Before you can fix your security posture, you kind of need to know what's broken, right? This takes 3 clear steps. First, you carefully compare the controls you already have against the strict SOC 2 requirements. Second, you identify what's missing or weak, like you might have this beautifully written password policy document, but absolutely 0 technical systems actually enforcing those rules across your network. That is a gap. And third, you meticulously document those gaps and the risks they create. So at its core, a gap analysis is just asking one simple question. What do we currently have versus what does SOC 2 expect? It's basically a direct mapping exercise to find your blind spots. And honestly, answering this question creates the ultimate blueprint for your entire compliance project. It tells you exactly what work you need to do. Listen, if you take absolutely nothing else away from this section, please remember this. Finding gaps is completely normal. It's so easy to panic when you suddenly uncover a dozen weak spots in your systems. But seriously, take a breath. Finding a weak spot right now isn't a failure. It's literally the whole point of the exercise. You want to find them now so you can fix them way before the official auditor ever shows up.
Now that we know where those gaps are, let's build the proof in Section 4, controls and evidence.
Implementing security controls is exactly how we close those gaps we just found, and we can drop these controls neatly into 3 buckets. First up, technical controls. These are your digital tools, things like enforcing multi-factor authentication or setting up least privilege access, which just means giving people the exact minimum permissions they need to do their specific jobs and absolutely nothing more. Second, administrative controls. These are the human rules, like having a documented incident response plan or doing vendor risk reviews. And third, physical controls, which secure your actual physical workspaces, using key cards, badges, and actual door locks. Now here's a vital concept you absolutely have to nail down: the fundamental difference between controls and evidence. Controls are simply the rules you set. Evidence is the tangible, undeniable proof that you actually follow them. And let me tell you, collecting this evidence can be a real pain. Your auditor is not just going to sit across the table and take your word for it. No way. They want to see the literal screenshots, the raw system logs, the exported reports, the quarterly access reviews, and the actual approval tickets from your IT service desk.
Because auditors demand this undeniable proof, you have to document everything. I mean, we're talking about a mountain of paperwork here. You need to formally provide your detailed policies and procedures, control narratives that explain exactly how things work step by step, comprehensive system descriptions of your architecture, and of course, your formal risk assessments. Which brings us to the absolute golden rule of compliance. Let's just say it together. If it's not written down, it doesn't exist to an auditor. Seriously, you could have the most secure, airtight, military-grade internal process in the world, and your engineering team might execute it perfectly every single day, but without the proper paper trail to prove it, it is completely useless for SOC 2.
Finally, all that hard work pays off in Section 5, audits and continuous compliance.
The actual audit fieldwork is a superstructured formal review. Step 1 is engaging an independent licensed CPA firm. That's a strict legal requirement, by the way. Step 2, they'll thoroughly review your docs, request massive amounts of evidence, and rigorously test your controls. Step 3 is interview time. Your team will actually sit down with the auditor, often virtually, share their screens, and walk them through your daily workflows in real time. Then, Step 4. Once all the testing is done, you finally receive that formal audit report.
Now, it's really easy to stress out about a formal audit, but please keep this in mind. Audits are collaborative, not confrontational. The auditors aren't the police trying to catch you committing a crime. They're independent assessors that you hired. They genuinely want to see you succeed and demonstrate your security maturity, not trick you into failing.
But getting that final report in your hands, that's not the finish line. Maintaining SOC 2 compliance is a continuous, ongoing effort. It's exactly like going to the gym. You can't just work out intensely for 3 months, get in great shape, and then completely cancel your membership expecting to stay fit forever, right? Your controls have to run year-round, you need to perform periodic internal reviews, prep for your next annual audits, and constantly dial in your continuous monitoring systems. SOC 2 is a permanent, healthy lifestyle shift for your business, not a one-off event.
So, let's wrap up with the absolutely crucial takeaways from our journey today. First, SOC 2 fundamentally builds trust, which unlocks those massive enterprise deals we talked about at the very beginning. Second, the math is incredibly simple. Controls plus evidence equals compliance. You literally cannot have one without the other. And third, compliance is absolutely a team sport. From IT and engineering right over to HR and physical office security, everyone plays a role in keeping customer data safe. We've covered a ton of ground today, showing you how an incredibly dense framework actually breaks down into logical, manageable steps, which leaves us with this final, provocative thought as you step back and look at your own organization's security posture. Are your controls truly running year-round, or just when the auditor is looking? Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep building that trust.